identical in the beginning, right? Heart and soul, but different at the end. Strength. Well, all that strength and mind point us to this truth that love is activity. Let's look at the Hebrew word for strength. Okay, strength. It's used in Deuteronomy 6:5, and it appears about 300 other times in the Old Testament, this Hebrew word for strength. You know, in Deuteronomy 6:5, it's the only time it appears as a noun. Every single time it appears in the Hebrew scriptures, this word for strength, every other place, it's used as an adverb. It's used to modify an action being done in the Old Testament. Because our strength, using it has to do with activity. Our love has to flow into action. Now, the Gospel of Luke also shows this beautifully when we think about mind. Okay, our mind must lead us to action, and Luke shows us this clearly. The Great Commandment in Matthew's Gospel today, if you notice, was introduced by a lawyer who was trying to test Jesus. Well, the only other place the Greek word used there for test in the Gospel of Luke is when Satan tests Jesus. It's the same Greek word in both cases. Knowledge is not enough. But also you can think of the rich young man who appears in all four Gospels, right? The rich young man who followed all the commandments, knew all the commandments, but he still goes away sad. It's because knowledge and living your life in conformity with your knowledge, that's not enough either. Rather, you got to look at what Jesus says immediately after this great commandment in the Gospel of Luke. Immediately after stating it, he says, "Do this, and you will live." Love must lead to action. You must act on your love, otherwise it's not complete. Okay, number 2, love is response. Next, the command to love God with our soul points to the truth that our love is a response. Our soul, our principle of life, is created by God with love. And our world in which we live, it's created by God with love. Love creates us. And all our love is a response to that first love. As 1 John 4:19 says, we love because God first loved us. Now in Hebrew, there's 2 different words for love, usually translated as love and steadfast love, to keep that distinction. And they correspond to lover and beloved. And I found 9 different instances in the Old Testament where these 2 words are paired together with God's steadfast love and our love. And in each of these pairings, it was clear that God's steadfast love is what awakens our ability to love. Like a flower blooming in the sunlight or a child in its mother's arms, right? Our ability to love is awakened by being loved. And so we have to recognize that our love is a response to God's love. So here's our goal as Christians. We have to grow ever closer to God so that our souls shine forth ever brighter with love. The law of God is not something negative, do not do this, but something completely positive, love. Holiness, to which all of us are called, does not consist in not sinning, but in loving, in doing positive things, in bearing fruit in the form of love of God. As St. Teresa of Calcutta's beautiful definition of holiness tells us, holiness is simply an extraordinary degree of love. And the command to love God with our soul points to that truth. Okay, finally, love is total. The command to love God with our hearts points to the truth that love is total. The key here is the often repeated word in all 4 instances of the Great Commandment, in Deuteronomy, in Matthew, in Luke, and Mark, all. Our heart is the point of contact between God and each one of us. And to get a better understanding of the fullness of the Hebrew word for heart that's used in the Old Testament, I suggest